Hello lovelies, I am so excited for today's video. Today we are going to be doing my first ever palette bingo. So I have it in black and white starting out because I've already created my look today, and I'm really excited to show you all the shades that we used and this look that we've created. And so for my very first ever palette bingo, I decided to use one of my favorite small brands, Andrea Marie Cosmetics. I have all 4 of the palettes that she has released from this brand, and we are going to randomly draw 2 shades from each one of these palettes to create this look. And so I'm really excited to show you all the different shades that we drew and this look and the tutorial on how to create it. I'm really loving this brand, and the quality of her products are amazing, and I'm really excited just to show you how well all of these play together. I cannot wait to show you all of the shades that I randomly generated to create this look. So come along with me and let's make up the rules. As you can see, getting started today, I do have a very neutral look going on right now. I've just got some black with some silver jewelry. I don't have any blush or any highlighter on or any lip color because I don't know what shades I'm going to pick. So I want to be able to make sure that all of my makeup matches the best that I can. So after we pulled all of our eyeshadows and we put the look together, I'll go back in and add some of those finishing details and really pull everything together and make it all cohesive. And so I'm really excited to jump into these 4 palettes. If you do like any of these palettes or are interested in seeing more, I do have an individual video that I created for each one of these, and I show some swatches, create a tutorial, and share some of my initial thoughts about them. So I'll put the link for all 4 of those videos in the description box below. Definitely go check it out. This is a great brand. She has a great mission, a great heart, and she is just such a wonderful person. Andrea Marie has a channel here on YouTube, and so I'll even put the link for her channel in the description box below as well, so definitely check her out. She is just such a sweet person and definitely has been a really good friend to me, and so I'm really excited for my first palette bingo to get to showcase all of her beautiful palettes. And so like I said, we're just going to go through and take a look at each one of these and just look at the color story and the size of the palette, and then we're going to go through and we're going to randomly generate 2 shades from each one. So the very first palette that her business released was the Blessed to Be Natural palette. This one is absolutely gorgeous. It is the perfect neutral palette, and I really don't have anything else like this in my collection. I tend to gravitate more towards more colorful look, so I don't have a lot of neutral palettes in my collection, but I absolutely love this one. Like I said, the quality is amazing and the color story inside is beautiful, and then of course just the theming of it is so sweet and just really builds confidence. When I purchased this palette, I was the very first one to purchase any of her palettes, and so when she started out, she had little cards on the inside of the palette, and it shows all of the shade names. Eventually she did redesign this particular palette so that it has the names printed on the actual palette itself with the shades, but I do have one of those first ones that has the little cards, so I will be referencing that as we're picking our shades so that we know the shade names. But this is the actual color story of the shades in the palette, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautiful 16 pan palette. We've got our 4 across and 4 down, but this one, like I said, is just such a gorgeous neutral shade palette. You can definitely create a little bit of color with it, but it definitely has just a lot of neutrality to it. So this is the Blessed to Be Natural palette. And then the second release that her brand had was the Heavenly Glitz, and this is a gorgeous palette, and you can tell from just the outside it is so glittery and shimmery and so much fun. And this one is an all pressed glitter palette, and so you can see this is a great summertime palette. It's just a lot of fun. It just has so much color and so much life to it, and so there are such beautiful bright shades in here. I'm really excited, particularly as we're picking our shades randomly, to see what we get in here, because I think this is really going to determine a lot of the color of this look, just because there is so much range in here, and so it's going to be really interesting to see what we randomly draw and what we're able to create in our look today. So that is the Heavenly Glitz palette. The next one that she released was the Icy Praise. This was a beautiful winter or Christmas time palette that she created. It is absolutely gorgeous. This was the first palette that was a little bit of a different size. This one is a 9-pan palette, so it's just a little cutie. It's very small, but it definitely has a lot of range and a lot of shades in here. I love that she's got a white matte and a white shimmer and then a silver shimmer along with all of these beautiful blues. There's so much range in the blues, and so there's a lot of different kinds of looks that you can make with this. So definitely whatever we randomly draw out of this palette is going to really affect the color of this look today as well, and I'm really excited to see what we end up getting. And then after the Icy Praise palette, the most recent launch that she had back in May of this year was the Anointed palette, and this one is absolutely gorgeous. I love the package on this. It is so high class and elevated, and the color story inside is so gorgeous. It is just so bright, so fun, springy and summery. All of the shades in here are so pigmented and just deep and rich, and so definitely this one is going to have a lot of kind of wild cards in our palette bingo today. We could get pink, yellow, purple, any different range of those shades, and I am choosing 2 shades from each palette, so we may get a couple of different shades in this one. So I'm really excited to go ahead and jump into picking out our 2 shades for each palette. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up on the screen over here a screen share of what's on my phone, and so I'm going to be showing you as we are randomly generating the numbers for these palettes, all the different choices that we're creating, and then I'm going to show you swatches of each one as we go, so that way we can have all of our shades together and we can see what color story we're going to be working with on our palette bingo look today. I was recently watching another palette bingo video from another YouTuber. Her channel is called battybean. If you have not checked it out, I will put the link in the description box below. So definitely go check out her channel. She is a great YouTuber. She's very knowledgeable about makeup and she's a lot of fun to watch. And on her recent video, she was talking about how one of her subscribers created a website that is specifically for palette bingos. It is called battybean.com, and on this website, you can choose the different sizes of your palette, and then it will randomly generate those shades for you for your palette bingo, and then it'll even show you the grid of the palette, and it will show you exactly which shade you are using. So I'm going to try that out today for my very first palette bingo, and we're going to see all of the different shades on the palette, and like I said, I'm going to pop that up on the screen and we're going to go ahead and randomly select 2 shades from each of these palettes. So as you can see here on the screen, this is paletteBingo.com, and so on this website, we can see all of the different palettes. When I opened it up, it was blank, and I went ahead and added all of the information for what we're doing today so that we could go through and take a look and click on each thing as we go. So palette number 1, I typed in the name Blessed to Be Natural, and this was a 4x4 palette, so I went ahead and entered that grid shape onto the paletteBingo.com. Under that, it allows you to show how many shades you want to pick for the look that you're creating. Like I said, I'm doing 2 shades per palette, so that's what I've selected here. On palette number 2, we've got the Heavenly Glitz. It is similar to the Blessed to Be Natural. It is another 4x4 palette, and then we are picking 2 shades. For Icy Praise, this one was a little different. It is a 3x3 palette, so I chose that on the grid. We're selecting 2 shades. And then for Anointed, that one was a 3x4, and again, we're choosing 2 shades. So I've got all of that on there, and then at the bottom, it asks if you want to reveal them all at one time, or if you want to go one by one. I want to go one by one so that we can take a look at each shade as we are going, and we can go ahead and take some swatches. So I'm going to hit spin. And as we do that, it takes us to the next page, and we see all 4 of the grids on here for all of the different palettes that we're going to be looking at. So I'm going to go to the Blessed to Be Natural. That's going to be our first one that we're going to take a look at. And I'm going to go ahead and spin the 2 shades for the Blessed to Be Natural palette, and then we'll take a look at the swatches, and then we'll continue on with our palette bingo. So I'm going to hit spin. It's going to shuffle for us, and number 5 is our first one, and our second shade is number 10. So let's go ahead and take a look at those and take some swatches. So I'm going to show you here on my little card that came with my Blessed to Be Natural palette. We got number 5, which is going to be this one right here. This one is Righteousness. And then we also got number 10, which is going to be this one here, Heavenly Night. So we're going to go ahead and take some swatches of those out of the palette. So we've got Righteousness right here. So I'm going to grab some of this. This is a beautiful brown shade. This is going to be nice and neutral for our look today. And go ahead and swatch this here. And then we've got Heavenly Night, which is this really dark shimmer here. I'm going to grab some of this one. This one is pretty well a black shimmer. It is really pretty. This is definitely very neutral starting out. Those are gorgeous shades. So that is what we've got from the Blessed to Be Natural palette. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Heavenly Glitz. Looking at our grid for the Heavenly Glitz, we've got 16 shades on this one as well. So we're going to go ahead and hit the spin button. Our first shade is number 2, and our second shade is number 11. So let's go ahead and take a look at those in the palettes and take a couple of swatches. Taking a look at our Heavenly Glitz palette, number 2 is going to be this beautiful kind of sandy brown shade up here, sort of a tan shimmer. And then shade number 11 is going to be this beautiful black shimmer down here, which is pretty crazy. I didn't expect that to go so well with the Blessed to Be Natural palette, but it definitely does. So this nice kind of sandy brown shimmer is going to be called Devotion. And this is absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, this is a pressed glitter palette, so it is definitely a little bit loose. We will have to use some glitter primer as we are applying, but I'm just going to sort of tap some of this on my hand so we can start to see that shimmer there. And then the black shimmer is called Fear Not. These are absolutely gorgeous, so I'm going to just tap some of this and pick up just a little bit more so I can really show that beautiful shimmer on my swatch here. And like I said, we'll use some glitter primer later as we are applying, but I am so shocked with this random generator that these two palettes match so perfectly on the shades. That is crazy. So I'm really excited to see. We've got a lot of neutrals here. As we are jumping into the Icy Praise and into the Anointed palettes, I do think we'll start to get a little bit more color. So let's go ahead and look at the Icy Praise. Taking a look now at the Icy Praise, this one is our smallest palette. It is a 9-pan palette. So let's go ahead and see the 2 shades that we're getting from this one. Our first shade is going to be number 5, and our second shade is going to be number 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at those and grab some swatches. So grabbing our Icy Praise palette, we are going to take a look at these shades inside. So our first one was number 3. That is this beautiful shimmer here. It is a nice, beautiful silver. And then number 5 is going to be this blue shade down here. So let's go ahead and take some swatches and put that next to our other shades from the other 2 palette. So first I am swatching that silver. It's called Eternal Star. And we've got a lot of neutrals so far. We've got our beautiful silver. And then that blue shade, it's sort of an aqua kind of bluish green, is called Crystal River. It is a beautiful shade. This one so far is going to be the star of the show. It is such a bright and vibrant color compared to all of our other neutrals that we have. So we've got one more palette that we're going to grab a couple of swatches from, and that is the Anointed palette. This one has a lot more color in it, so I'm excited to see if we got some extra pops of color we can add to what's looking to be a mostly neutral look. And now taking a look at our PaletteBingo.com, our Anointed palette is a 3x4, so let's go ahead and select our shades from this one. Our first shade is going to be number 4, and our last shade for Palette Bingo is number 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at those and grab some swatches. Taking a look at our Anointed palette, we are looking at numbers 1 and 4. So number 1 in the palette is going to be this beautiful pink over here, and number 4 is going to be another pink. That is so funny. We got the 2 pink mattes out of this palette. So I'm going to go ahead and add these to our swatches. Number 1 is called Bloom. It is a beautiful light pink. I'm going to add it here. And then our other shade is called Beloved. It is a little bit of a deeper pink, a little bit more of kind of a darker Barbie kind of pink. And so those are all of our shades here. This is a really fun color story. I'm really excited to see what kind of look we can make with these. It definitely is a lot more cohesive than I was wondering if it might end up being, especially pulling from such different palettes. But I am still just shocked at the Blessed to Be Natural and the Heavenly Glitz, how perfectly those match. As you saw, the Heavenly Glitz is a 16 pan palette, and it has just about every different kind of shimmer that you can imagine, every different kind of color. So the fact that we got a sort of tan and a black shimmer that perfectly matches that was so crazy. I did not expect that at all. But then, of course, this beautiful silver is going to be really nice and neutral to go with those browns and blacks. And then we've got a couple of cohesive pinks and then a blue that I think are going to look really pretty together. So we can definitely create a really smoky, really dark look and then add some pops of fun blue and pink. So I'm really excited to go ahead and jump into this look. So I'm going to step off camera for just a moment. I'm going to prime my eyes and kind of get my thoughts together on what I want to do with all of these shades. And then when I come back, we're going to put together a look using all 8 of these shades from the Andrea Marie Cosmetics palettes. As I was off camera, I went ahead and primed my eyes with my Ulta Beauty Pigment Pop Eye Primer, this nice beautiful white primer. And so I think what I'm going to do for this look is I'm going to create a mostly neutral look on the top. I'm going to use those beautiful shades from the Blessed to Be Natural palette, that beautiful brown and black that we chose. And I'm going to use those in the crease and really kind of create a nice deep dark kind of smoky outer corner. And then I'm going to apply the shimmers from the Heavenly Glitz onto my lid, that nice kind of sandy brown and that black shimmer. I'm going to put those across the lid together, and on the lower lash line I'm going to really focus on the pinks and that silver, and then have a nice beautiful pop of blue on the inner corner from the Icy Praise palette. So I think that's what I want to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a nice fluffy blending brush. This is from the Ace Beauté Paledopoly collection. This is brush P2. And so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start out with the Blessed to Be Natural palette, and I'm going to start with that beautiful brown shade that we chose, that Righteousness shade, and going to start to apply that in the crease. So I'm just going to pick some of that up on my brush, and I'm going to start to apply this across the crease, and just probably about halfway, if not a little more than halfway across the crease, and just start to build up some pigment. This is going to be a very nice deep smoky kind of look. This is a little bit of a darker brown. It is definitely not the darkest brown in this whole palette, but it is one of the deeper ones, so it's going to really create a nice deep crease. And then as we start to move into that black, I think it's going to blend really nicely into that. So again, just really starting to apply this all the way across, and I think those glitters from the Heavenly Glitz are really going to help to kind of add some lightness to the lid, especially because the crease is going to be pretty dark. So we're just going to apply this and just going back and forth and blending it in. Starting to really build up that pigment. That is so pretty and so fun. I love, like I said, the neutrals in this palette. They are great quality, they're very pigmented, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So now we're going to go into that deep dark black Heavenly Nightshade. Like I said, this is more of a shimmer, but I think if I pick it up on my blending brush and start to really blend it in, I think it's going to come out a little bit more matte-like, and I think it's going to blend really nicely into this outer corner. And that is absolutely gorgeous. I love how deep and dark that is. I think it's going to be really pretty and create a very, very smoky effect. So I'm just kind of pulling this down into this outer corner of my eyelid, and I do want to put some of that black shimmer or black glitter from the Heavenly Glitz palette over top that. So I do really want it to be nice and dark on this outer part of my lid because I want the glitter to really be very deep and very dark, and so I think if it's over top some black, it's really going to deepen it up. I'm just going to blend that in, and I think it is really pretty, and definitely that black shimmer is really kind of showing up a lot more mattified and really starting to have a lot more depth to it here. This is absolutely gorgeous. I am kind of pulling it a little bit into that brown shade so that it is nice and deep across the crease and really blending in those two shades. I'm going to pull just a little bit more of that Righteousness brown shade back in and start to just kind of meet where those two come together so that it's nice and blended. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. That is such a beautiful deep look. And so I do think I'm gonna go ahead and do the lower lash line first, and then I'll come back and do the glitter at the end. So like I said, I do want to, for the lower lash line, go in with the pinks and the silver. So I'm gonna jump into the Anointed palette, and I chose on our random generator this beautiful pink shade here and this one here, Bloom and Beloved. So I'm gonna go in with another brush from Ace Beauté Paletopoly, and this one is P4. This one is a much smaller and finer detailed kind of brush, so we can really get a nice thick line along the lower lash line. So I'm going to go into Bloom, and then I'm going to go over top of it with Beloved and really get a very nice rich pink lower lash line. So starting out with that lighter pink Bloom, I'm grabbing some of that, and I'm just going to line this underneath my lash line and just start to really build up some pigment. This is an absolutely gorgeous pink shade, and I think these little pops of pink and blue are going to look really pretty with what is mostly a neutral look, and I think it's going to really just add a lot of lightness and airiness to this look. That is absolutely gorgeous. I'm just dipping back into Bloom over and over and just really building up the pigment and getting a lot of that pink here along the lower lash line. So that is absolutely gorgeous. I love how that looks. Now I'm going to jump into Beloved. I'm using that same brush. I'm not cleaning it off in between, and just grabbing a little bit more pigment and really building up this pink. And you can see it definitely brightened it a lot more. Beloved is just a little bit of a deeper pink than Bloom, and so it's really going to make this much brighter and much richer. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love all of that pink along the lower lash line. That is such a fun little pop of color there. I'm gonna just kind of wipe off this brush just a little bit on a clean cloth just to kind of get that excess pink off of it. And then I'm going to jump into the Icy Praise palette and going into that beautiful Silver Shimmer Eternal Star, and just using that same brush and just picking up a little bit of that silver. And I'm going to grab a little bit of setting spray and just give it a quick spritz, just so that way it's got a little bit more tackiness and will really pack a lot more shimmer and shine on this look. And I'm going to put that on the lower lash line right here as we're moving to towards the inner corner, just adding a little pop of shimmer. I tend to put shimmer right here just because I think it adds a little bit of lightness as you're moving towards the inner corner, and I think that looks really pretty. I'm just going to kind of use my finger and just sort of blend the pink and the silver together right where they meet, and just add a little bit more lightness to this look. And I think that's really cute and really fun. So I think next I'm going to go ahead and add some of my NYX glitter primer, and I think we'll go ahead and do the glitter before we get into the inner corner. I did go ahead and apply some of my NYX glitter primer all over my lid, and so now I want to jump into these beautiful pressed glitters from the Heavenly Glitz palette. So like I said, I've got this beautiful shade up here, Devotion and Fear Not, and so I want to put the Fear Not, that black, on this outer half, and then Devotion more towards the inner half of my lid. And so I'm going to start out trying to pick some up with my finger. Like I said, it's pressed glitter, so it definitely takes a lot to kind of pick up the glitter pieces and to apply them. So I'm going to see how well it works for me to pick it up with my finger, and then I'll decide if I want to use a brush to kind of really finish building up that shimmer. So I'm going to start with that beautiful Fear Not, that beautiful black glitter, and so I'm just going to pick some up and start to press this onto the outer half of my lid, and that is really pretty. It is a little bit flaky, so I just want to make sure that I am pressing it into that glitter glue and really building up the pigment. So I'm going to just press into my lid and add that shimmer, and that is absolutely gorgeous. It is such a beautiful black shade. I love how that looks. I'm getting just a little bit of fallout, so I'm just going to kind of use my fingers and clean it up and just kind of pick off those excess glitter pieces, and just continue to press as I move across the lid, about halfway across the lid. And that is so pretty. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my hand, and then we're going to start to jump into that Devotion shimmer. So now I've got my hand cleaned off. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this Devotion shimmer, and I'm going to start to apply that on the inner half of my lid. So again, just pressing it on and just kind of blending in where these two shades meet. And that is so pretty. I love both of those shimmers. They are so bright. They are so vibrant on this look, and I think it is coming together really beautifully. I think I am going to grab a brush and just kind of add a little bit more pigment so I don't have any holes in the shimmer, and just make sure everything is nice and blended together. So I'm just going to use a flat brush from Ulta Beauty Collection and just pick up a little bit of each of these shimmers, and just where I have little holes in the glitter, I'm just going to sort of press and fill in those holes. This pressed glitter is so pretty, but it definitely takes a little bit of work just to really kind of build up the shimmer that you want, and to really kind of build up exactly how you want it to be presented on your eye. So like I said, I'm just kind of pressing this into where there are holes, and I'm going to flip it over and use the clean side and pick up a little bit of that black shimmer and do the same thing, and just kind of press where those two meet. And that way I don't have necessarily a straight line. I'm just going to kind of blend in and just add shimmer and glitter into little holes in between the two so that everything looks pretty blended, using kind of pulling back and forth motion just to kind of pull the glitter pieces into each other. So it's a little less of a harsh line. You can definitely see there's a little bit more of a blend there. So as we are finishing up this look, I'm going to grab a detailing brush from Real Techniques, and we're going to go back into the Icy Praise palette for our last shade, and it's going to be that beautiful bluish green shimmer here, Crystal River. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this on my detailing brush. I am going to spray this with my setting spray just a little bit, and then I'm going to apply this onto the inner corner, and this is really going to finish up our look for today. I do want there to be a nice beautiful pop of blue here, and I'm going to use my finger just a little bit just to kind of smooth it out and just kind of mute it down just a little bit so it's not blobby, so that it's got a little bit more of a blend to it. I'm going to pull it down just a little bit into that silver and up into my crease just a little, just so everything is connected. I think that's really fun. That's really pretty. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to add some of my finishing details. I'm going to add some blush and highlighter, some lip color, and then finish up the eyes. And I'll be back in just a moment, and we'll take a look at how all of this came together for our final look. And here is the completed look. I'm so happy with this. I think it is so fun. I love how all of the different shades from all four of these palettes came together and created this look. I think it is just so cute. For all my finishing details, since I had a little bit of pink in this look, I really wanted to pull on that pink with my blush and with my lip color. For the blush, I did go in with my Cherry Blossom blush. This is the pink shade from the r.e.m. Beauty Wicked series. You can tell this one's a little bit loved. I've got some fallout in here, but it is a beautiful trio of blush shades in here, and so I used all three of those and applied them. I do have a video using that, as well as the Elphaba eyeshadow palette, and so if you're interested in that, I can drop that in the description box below. And then for my highlighter, I really wanted to pull on kind of these neutral shades that I have on the lid, and so for my highlighter, I went in with a Bad Rep jelly highlighter, and this was from the Wet n Wild Disney Villains collection. This is in the shade Cast Spell. It's kind of a pretty sort of white gold sort of shade. For my eyes, I went in and tight lined on the top with an Ulta Beauty Collection automatic eyeliner in the shade Matte Black, and then I went in on the lower waterline with an Ulta Beauty Collection Color Punch automatic eyeliner in the shade Playful Pink. And for my mascara, I went in with my Tarte Maneater Waterproof Mascara. And then for my lip combo, I went in with an Ulta Beauty Collection automatic lip liner in the shade Fuchsia, and I topped that with a Fresh Kiss Glossy Lip Balm from ColourPop. This is in the shade Vanilla Cake. It's just a nice, beautiful, clear lip gloss. And so those are all my finishing details. And I'm so happy with how this look turned out. I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in so we can just take a closer look at the final look, and then we'll wrap up the video. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. This was so much fun going through all 4 of my Andrea Marie Cosmetics palettes and getting to do a palette bingo. I really enjoyed getting just to see the different shades that we picked randomly from each one of these palettes and getting to create this look. I'm really happy with this look. I think it turned out so cool. I think it really does look really coordinated and intentional. It doesn't look like it was randomly drawn. So I was really happy with all of the shades that I drew, and I just think that this is just such a fun color story. I was really shocked, like I said, that I got so many of the similar neutrals from the Blessed to Be Natural and the Heavenly Glitz palettes. I think that was so cool. And then these little pops of pink and blue, I think just added so much to this look. They added just a little pop of color and took what would have been a very neutral look and gave it just a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more just kind of oomph to it. So I'm really happy with this look, and I would love to hear from you in the comments below what your thoughts are about the look that I created, and if you would have drawn this color story, what would you have created? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel when you do. And if you would like to see more palette bingos and makeup tutorials and content, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time, let's be kind to each other, beautiful to ourselves, and never afraid to make up the rules.